Hi, I'm Patty Napolitano, owner and operator of Wellness Cleveland. I'm also a mom and a social worker. I'm a family therapist. I'm a jiu-jitera. I have some bruises from jiu-jitsu. And I have this little spot underneath my home office here. I've got a desk and I have a little spot. I love a standing desk. And I learned this at Black beauty parlors, that if you're going to be there for a while, it makes it a lot more accessible if you can bring your kids. So one of the things I love about a standing desk is you can make like a mini office under here if you're going to interview people who have to bring their kids. And you know who has to bring their kids to your sessions? Is grandparents and aunts and uncles who are babysitting for people. And sometimes people have to bring their children or some family member because something terrible has happened and they need to talk to a social worker and we need to talk to them. So they need to occupy themselves. This is actually a dormy, has some undergarment and like sports undergarments. I raised myself and 3 humans from a tiny seed to adult size, and that's just so many sports bras when you are a growing body. So we had a subscription. They are fair trade. They have some climate pledges that they do. So we would end up getting this many pairs of underwear shipped to us sometimes. So you can just turn this into an activity. One of my children made it. I'm trying to flip it into a toy box with like a checker lid and whatever. You can make these for your offices. You do not need to spend a lot of money. If you're a children's social worker, children's therapist, ask your friends or your patients if they have any Happy Meal toys they don't want anymore. Kids, when they see something like this, oh, Miss Patty, I'm not allowed to play with this on the carpet, am I? It is just so thrilling to get to sit. Actually, I have one of my dear friends bought this for me on his graduation trip, so I've had that since 1998, actually. We don't bring that to the office, though. So there's any numbers of things that you can do if you're having a community meeting. If you are interviewing people for a public opinion poll, if you're going to have a bean poll, if you're going to have people someplace that people stop by, people carry children. People also need water. You can have little human things. But in family therapy and children therapy, when we stop and play with things is when children are doing work, they're organizing things, they're making things orderly. We're going to move this box and show you my other little we have in here. Ooh. Sorry. Thank you. I'm well. We have a poster. We have something we can, if it's really a problem, we can take it down. If it's a problem all the time, we take it down before they're in the room. But we want to have stuff that's kind of enticing to see what kids get into, because these are things that children have access to, and I don't have the right plug. I would put in a plug. I'm sure my insurance would have me put in a plug. So I have some little characters on a couch, and you can take them out. And I have a naked baby. I have a baby with clothing on, and it turns into a little bed. I'll usually have like little guys. There's caregiving activities. There's puzzles. There's non-humans. Kids are going to gravitate towards whatever they feel like gravitating towards. I don't really have a preference. I don't really analyze the play therapy that I've done. We don't do too much. We try to limit the number of traumatic content. For example, I had a pair of patients who were brothers, who were 3, they might have been 3 and 4, and they were in a car on the freeway on the way to school, and there was a car accident, and mommy died in the car, and the boys lived because they were safe and sound. So these kids are in car seats every day. So car seat is not necessarily a traumatic reminder. Getting in the car may or may not be. I might have cars. I might have trucks. If there's one thing I know about trucks, it's that the best ones are monster trucks. And do you know what monster trucks do is they smash. So I'm only gonna have these toys around if I have somebody who is timid, who I might want to have them touch the wheels, right? And I might have them, I might not even make the loud noise. I might make this noise far away, and the whole session we're just getting ready to touch it. So we do want to think about what's in our room based on our case. For those kids, we waited a while before we had a fire truck, and I talked to firefighters about the kinds of things that may have happened when there is a car accident. I ask things of the parents. Sometimes we ask things of parents before kids are in the room. Sometimes we ask after they're in the room. But a lot of times kids will want to show you what happened. And if they want to show you, then we want to listen. And then we use something called pride skills. So we have lots of videos on pride skills, but I wanted to show you my little under the desk baby area. And think about it, but don't try to overthink it, and see like what people respond to. We want to have enough things that kids are curious, and we want to be modeling what are the rules. For example, when we come in the room and they want to run over, do they ask me to go in the corner? Do they ask mom? If they ask me, I ask the parent. If they ask the parent, usually the parent will say, ask Miss Patty. And I'll say, thank you so much for checking with me, because this is my special room. And I love to have kids explore. And I'm so glad you checked with your parent, your aunt, your sister, whoever's brought them. Thank you so much for checking with them, because they're your safe person. So when we have these spaces, it's really important for us to reinforce for boundaries and safety, and it's part of what we are teaching them, particularly kids under the age of 5 and kids recovering from caregiver loss. This is not a safe person's desk. You don't know if I'm actually a grandmother. I could have made all these things up, right? And somebody who has a desk in their bedroom is someone who wants children to sit under their desk in their bedroom. If you know me personally as a children's therapist, that doesn't mean that you should trust me to have children sleep in my bedroom necessarily. And we should be teaching kids that that is a red flag. So when children come to therapy, we teach them what red flags are. Red flags don't mean never enter here, because we can do different things with them, right? A red flag should get our attention. A red flag should ask us to question in a different way, as clearly as we can, to say, I'm supposed to ask questions about this. I am very happy that my very real life granddaughter is allowed to come over and spend time with me. I'm very happy that my adult children feel safe with that. They feel safe with that because of the way that I raised them, which included having an office where they watched me modeling with other adults what this space is for, what my space is for, how people speak to me, how I speak to them. So we have some consequences from those things that my children have learned. Mostly my children have learned to run every committee on every project they've ever been on. So we do love that. But also my children have learned what all of my therapy patient learns, which is that the goal of children's therapy is not for me to be a child's safe space. These are brave spaces. And we're so happy that your caregiver and loved one brought you here to tell me about the really big thing that happened. And since that happened, things haven't felt the same. Kids may or may not be aware of it or mindful of it or thinking about it in any moment, because their consciousness, their processing, and their understanding of things is not the same as ours. But what we do know is when they feel comfortable and they learn that this is a place that we visit with Miss Patty, and our parent sits right here. Okay, let me show you right here. Okay, that's my pretend chair. Caregivers don't have to sit on the floor. Miss Patty likes sitting on the floor. So Miss Patty has floor toys in the office, right? If Miss Patty didn't, then I would be setting something up that is at the children's level that I'm comfortable sitting at, and I always invite the caregiver to be a part of a play. When the child picks a toy, I say, you picked a toy. When they bounce, I say, bounce. I don't say, does he like friends? What do you think he's thinking about? Is he sad? We don't ask questions. No, 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 no. What if the child doesn't want to engage? Then I copy them. I imitate. I use calm sounds. I use soft hands. He's following me. I describe it. He's following me. I say how I feel. I get happy when my friend follows me. Beep, beep. Sometimes this is when we roar, right? I'm not leading, I'm following what this child is doing. And sometimes they say, shut up, baby. I show an emotional response that is quiet and that a child can see. I check in with mommy or daddy or caregiver, because that's what I'm modeling, just like I modeled when they came in. And the parent says to the child, no, talk to Miss Patty. And I say, thank you. Oh, I'm so glad you asked your parent. Is that something that's okay with you if they explore? Thank you for asking me, right? I'm modeling what I want them to do. Turn back to the parent, turn back to the parent, turn back to the parent. Shut up, baby. Oh, I don't know how I feel. I better check in. How do we feel? We name it. The child is going to do something next. I will tell you what a lot of children do. They have been looking through my things. Do you know what they've been looking for? A reason to get out a brush and a cup. Because they're remembering a time when they felt really, really sad. I say, oh, you got the brush. Oh, and I make the sounds. Oh, and they tell me, it's okay, yuck. They use their names, right? As a children's therapist, I am not making an abuse referral for this. This is not an investigation. This is not evidence. This is essential, okay? We are not mandated investigators. And what happened was the child is remembering because they're calm and they know that they're allowed to play here. And they know they're allowed to check in with their parent. And they've been watching as visits have unfolded they've been watching their parents respond and react in a contained way that's kind of predictable. Like, I'm going to give you a very relatable example. I'm from a big family from the 80s. When my mom was on the phone with someone and she was using a tone, and I popped in and said, "Mom, I'm going to be down at the pool. Can I come back when the street lights are on?" She said, "Yes, dear." Run. Right? Children know when they're not going to arouse suspicion with things that might otherwise set their parents off if they're not feeling their best. So in children's therapy, we understand that coming to an office where there's a little couch and a real nice white lady who's kind of a boho babe, we don't know what's going on with her, right? Is it in her? Is she a they? I really don't know. And there's a naked baby, and there's very clearly a white one and a black one. There's judgments. She said slap. How do you think that parent should be feeling? Now, I want you to understand the parent-child bond, and that if you have a family come in and we have these two babies and they're both crying and they both belong to the other parent, and the other parent says, "This one needs a diaper and this one needs water." Does that make sense that I would do that? Because I know that that parent is attuned to these children's cries. Attunement is a circuit. So the primary thing that we're understanding in children's therapy is how the child is attuned to the parent and how the parent's feeling and the parent's view of what's happened, how the child is feeling about what's happened, and then how they feel together, right? So that child who's attuned knows when mom's parent says something that they're going to get it, so they stop as soon as they see it. They already know parent is on the case, right? So if this child comes into this social worker's office and says, "Shut up, baby," how do you think that parent is feeling? And the most natural thing for you to do as a social worker is to affirm that circuit and look at the parent and say, "Oh," right? The child is, you're showing the child, we look to the parent. That's your therapeutic technique. Okay? This is your therapeutic technique. I want you to watch it again. You can do it in slow-mo. "Shut up, baby." And the parent is going to be, in the Dan Siegel model, they're going to have their lid flipped because they're going to be watching a social worker look at them and say, "Is this lady about to call children's services on me?" We just did the intervention. That was the intervention. Calling children's services is not the intervention. Well, you're going to watch the second part of the intervention because we just did the children's intervention. Now we're going to do the parent one, right? Oh. Did you watch me attune? Did it seem like I relaxed? Oh, that's our limbic system. We are assuring within the human brain, I'm a human, you're a human, this is a human, brainstem. The limbic system says, you are safe, you are loved. That's what we're developing at this distance with safe form eye contact. That's what we develop with lullabies in every language. Ooh. We pick songs that the parent loves that remind them of their grandparent, and that completes the great neocortical connection for the parent, and then the child mirrors it, right? We still have it. We're humans. Even though we're not babies, we still have it. That's why when we sing in a choir, our heartbeats synchronize, right? Because we have human social attunement. No judgment, but I just lined all these guys up. We're using them in order, okay? So I do the child. I orient to the child. I assure the parent, oh, right? I just showed them that I'm relaxed. I'm not grabbing a notepad. don't document, okay, during this moment. And we ask the child, oh, what should we do? And the child will tell you in that moment what they need. Ah! And then I be confused, right? Aren't you confused? What do I do? Oh, how do we make baby feel better? Usually the children are going to come in this moment and they're going to melt you. They're going to be like, there's my special baby. They have nicknames. They have stuff in the chamber, I promise. That's also a therapeutic intervention for the parent. You're reassuring them that in their moments of panic, as soon as they get a little bit of reassurance, those children, like heroin, remember every time you swore, and also really tender, wonderful, loving things you have said to them. And that's what they say to their baby dolls. And that's why baby dolls don't have a gender. They're not a gendered toy. They're not. This baby looks like Winston Churchill. You cannot tell me this child has a gender. This is a baby. And babies of all kinds, including my father, love to rock. Sometimes we lay them on pillows. Sometimes we put really special clothes on them. Sometimes we'll want to see what's under them, and that's fine. We want to see how they're made. We can do anything. We can be curious. We played, something happened. We stayed, we got back to playing, didn't we? That's what the other toys are for. We want to have some that were not a part of the argument, right? We're back to playing. That means that we're regulated. That was the entire play therapy intervention. Sometimes those kinds of experiences, we only need a few sessions for children because we're relying on really great, layered, intergenerational strengths that people have recovering from things. So that's my Wellness Cleveland play therapy intervention of the day.